Welcome everyone to another video here, live stream in I don't know, I went live without the camera. Oh, I can't make this up. So finally, I guess we are back online. Slightly tiny little, maybe not even entirely Pulse Audio's and Linux kernel's fault. Maybe it's a bloody HDMI cable, because it was working relatively fine-ish so the last months, well, except drop frames that are on Vodafone DOCSIS cable. The only thing I changed the last weeks was HDMI cable. Anyway, welcome here to this amazing live stream for the regular recurring theme of iPhone goodness here. You've seen this in previous videos, I said this before, and like original iPad goodness. And of course I've not done this myself, although I said I wanted for the fun of it, like on the original iPhone, right? Because why not? But other people also, I show you all the terminals, but anyway, other people have done this here, booting Linux, aka otherwise this Android Linux distribution stuff. And here live on Twitter, I retweeted this already the other day, and booting to a full graphical whatever Android window server stuff. And newsworthy mostly also, I wanted to do this, I said this before, with a vintage code, because I knew that back in the day for the very first devices, which fun fact are genuine regular Samsung parts, right? And we discussed this here with other people here previously on this channel, just for the fun tinkering and stuff, using this original back in the day source code, because after all Samsung CPU, right? And the new iPhones, of course, just iteration after iteration, newer silicon, which by the way, I hope the audio is fine without dropouts. If you have already, hey, 0 drop frames, at least something. So the making of, why is this so newsworthy here? This is not a hobbyist project. It is actually a maybe somewhat project according here to this project Sandcastle here, new as per last night. An adventure 13 years in the making. iPhone Linux a decade later. So apparently I suspected this, I never researched this, but it turns out apparently the founders here of this virtualization, iPhone virtualization, you know, those who have, is the name here, this core, why is here this, not Corellium, or, yes, Corelliums. So they also see in terms of, I said this before, how not to make money with open source, which is like ourselves here, this fine little hobby projects of T2 Linux and stuff, embedded Linux, nobody's going to pay you for this. And according to this history here, those people here, David Wong and Chris Wade and their friends and family and stuff, did here, so they did this iPhone Linux, this reverse engineering tinkering around there, booting Samsung SOC stuff, so yeah, not too much of a big deal. But instead of this, I was already wondering why this went away and like disappeared in the internet nirvana kind of dev null thing. So those, instead of doing this unsuccessful one-man distribution stuff here of our T2 stuff, doing this startup venture capital stuff of virtual machine stuff, this Corellium, which is, for you if you've never heard about this, we had this in the news, they are currently being sued by Apple for providing iOS virtualization, which, yeah, nearly macOS. And yeah, so there you see those fun side projects, and also recommendation, instead of doing some open source stuff like, yeah, keep your secret source for yourself and sell it for millions, and venture capital stuff, apparently. Comments in the audience already, obsolete Android phones can recommend Lineage OS and modern Android without the bloat. Yeah, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Marco writes, would rather like to see BSD running on it. Sorry, but don't like the GPL. Yeah, that's fine. Your comments appreciated, and we soon certainly want to do our microkernel fun stuff here. But no matter whether you want to join this bandwagon or not, the biggest thing is the win for freedom for all of us. I said this before, previous live stream here some 6 months ago, why I totally, you see this collection, you are an Apple developer of like ours, we're getting out of this. So even I, as an Apple and a little bit iPhone developer, I only was a cheapskate and only got every second iPhone and not even many iPads, because iPads I personally don't. So yeah, if you don't sell this vintage stuff on eBay, something, and keeps this here for your collections, then yeah, you end up with a couple of devices, not to mention my 6S. And the freedom of continuing to use this devices, because theoretically you could still make phone calls with a first-gen iPhone or give it to your kids, but certainly something like an iPhone 4 or something still usable. So planned obsolescence, and that is what I said before, even if you tell, if you're on the Apple reality distortion field and say, yeah, planned obsolescence, they provide updates much longer than other industry companies like Sony and stuff, then yeah, the updates are longer. However, when Apple says enough is enough, then you can only recycle it. Certainly you don't want to use it with all the security vulnerabilities there live on this other channel. Because even on modern iOS stuff, every other week some security update, right? And so it's not only this about you want to save, you want to use it for 10 years because you just want to make phone calls, you live in a less wealthy developing country, you want to use it for 10 years, or even if you are like first world industrial states, actually I really hate these terms, no matter where you are and you want to DIY tinker, these devices are still fine to run all kinds of DIY controller goodness, your own screw to the wall, use it as an IoT device, home light switch stuff. Certainly here's this big iPad stuff. Fun fact, this original iPad, which certainly just for the sake of it, I teased it already before, this also, I just got it back from my father the other month because cheapskate, using this forever. And my father, no kidding, he used this all the last, I don't know, since I used it for, yeah, also planned obsolescence, right? So this first gen, I think Samsung SoC was so underpowered that even after 2 years or so, Apple stopped software updates, or maximum 3 years, so really quickly. And then I gave it to my father because, and yeah, so much to first gen Apple devices. But my father used it for really many years, or 6 years, or however, 5 years, 6 years. Since this stuff is obsolete, actually, I could fact check this. He used it as home control stuff, light switches, temperature, you name it. Not making this shit up. And even though, yeah, still relatively few scratches because we treat our stuff well. The only thing that broke a little bit is some plastic somewhere here. But so much to the Apple quality. But you could still use it for home control stuff or a music player. There is no good reason to just recycle it just because Apple says so. And that is my critique here of this vendor locked in devices, whether it is Samsung here of vendor lock in, not goodness, or Apple. I said this before, Apple says these are computers, the newer ones anyway, and no matter if Apple calls them computers or they are just glorified media consumption devices, in my opinion, if you buy it and you own it, you should be able to install your own software, just like, yeah, not to say Windows, certainly quality-wise, but we should, in general, recurring shout out, have total control of these devices, and this includes installing whatever software you fancy, including your own. Doesn't need to be Linux, can also be your own IoT, whatever, tinkering stuff, car entertainment stuff. If you throw it on the seat or something, the ideas are endless, and yeah, there is this huge retro vintage movement of playing DOS and whatever consoles, and there is no reason to use these devices like nearly forever, sorta kinda anyway. And this is what I recurrently want to shout out here, that we should have total control and install whatever you want. It could also be like, all the reasons don't apply, you just are sick and tired of iOS and you just want the Apple hardware for the looks and want to run Android because you prefer it more, openness, your own control. Even as developer, we need to, previous videos, have all the apps approved, which are totally not cool. And if we take a look, so of course they come here from the virtualization, so they must have reverse engineered all of those devices. This is the only thing like device drivers, in which I also said before, this Linux and Android stuff should be generic like Windows and come there with drivers so that you can install it on all those devices without the need of recompiling Linux, monolithic kernel goodness. But the Linux kernel, of course, Android, you know it all, certainly if you're here on this channel, Android based on Linux kernel, so they ported their some stuff. Interesting, they write here PA-SEMI, of course, PA-SEMI mentions this also before, this was a startup of highly power efficient PowerPC stuff. And so they also write here SPI controller, SPI here of previous FPGA goodness, right, previous videos, SD card, serial peripheral interface stuff here, previous videos here, and inspired by something else. SPI, not a big thing. I said this before, the very first iPhone anyway, were Samsung silicon, no big deal. So also there was apparently some PA-SEMI stuff. They write here, driver in the kernel tree was again not capable or whatever. It's not yet complete like pre-boot Hello World. So they apparently work it together with Checkra1n people. Checkra1n, of course, if you have never heard, this is the current jailbreaking pre-boot environment for latest and greatest iOS jailbreaks if you are into this kind of freedom. And again, in my opinion, vendors should, each customer, even Aunt Tilly and each and every one, from the kindergarten to the elderly home, everyone does need to be an IT specialist. Each and every user deserves the right to unlock their devices. If Apple thinks they need to lock it for security, that you can't bring your own software, at least there should be a factory unlock thing without Apple's approval, so that whenever you fancy to install your own software. What is the current status? You can download this here, unfortunately only for the iPhone 7, and you know it all, I love the freedom of the headphone jack, so this is not making this stuff up. My last iPhone 6S, so unfortunately I can't try it out for you. Maybe I should actually get a used 7 or something, or confiscate it from my significant other or something. So they write here currently supported, so you see they probably have here some other devices in mind except the only working iPhone 7 CPU stuff, because clearly they previously had here this iPhone Linux, which is also linked here of previous video fame. If you want to take a look, this was running on the first iPhones, they're back, not this one, like first iPhones like this one, and maybe the first iPad like this. We will probably try this out another week. And they're probably, given their virtualization stuff, so probably they have reverse engineered a lot of this drivers. So they have implemented like QEMU, VirtualBox, VMware, Fame, those devices there for their virtualization service to run somewhat probably unmodified, I guess, iOS. So they list here actually the UART, the serial, so apparently either Apple didn't change it much or they implemented already support for multiple USB, apparently for many except the latest, so there is theoretically a chance that it comes to more iPhones. You also see here display, apparently for quite some, even 11, a display probably means frame buffer, I guess, not GPU, so GPU no, so that means no Power VR, no surprise there, Power VR previous video. Some power management unit stuff, audio apparently not at all, Wi-Fi for some, so yeah, certainly you can't make phone calls right now, I2C for all of them, maybe Apple didn't change it ever, or I don't know what, camera certainly not, but yeah, maybe more to come. Also TreeStar for the Lewis Rosmanson, Jessa Jones micro soldering stuff. So source code is here, Project Sandcastle of Corellium, if you want to take a look there. Yeah, if you try it out, leave comment below. What do you think about bringing your own software? Not only if it's vintage, even if it's latest and greatest. If you want an iPhone and just want the scratchy aluminium hardware and glass breakiness or I don't know what, and proprietary USB pseudo connector thing. Leave in the comments below what you think about this. If you agree or not that consumers should have the option and right to bring their own operating system, whatever they like. In my opinion, we should really increase the awareness of this, which is certainly why I turn to YouTube for all this fun content here. And in general, work in this right to repair, but also in general software community and user community and users' rights, that everyone can do what they please with their devices, not only repair of Louis Rossmann and all the repair family, but certainly software-wise, certainly we hear often more from the software perspective. And here, share, like, and subscribe if you agree to this, or leave in the comments below what you think about this. Alex writes, no point of buying a new 7, seem to be tracked with support to the rest of the checkmate vulnerability devices. Yeah, I think probably so. My significant other, usually as much as I try to convince her to Android, still on an iPhone, probably I could. Actually, wait a second, we have here some broken. What do I have? What is this here? Still from my significant other. Here's something else lying around, but I actually not making this stuff up. And I had also, what was with the other? Oh, wait a second, this was an SE. Yeah, probably need to check. My wife has something newer, so maybe I can switch something out for her there. Actually, my father, we recently gave her the SE that she prefers. Anyway, doesn't matter. Certainly, I also didn't mean new, I meant cheap, used from eBay, but whatever. Instant live install. You mean for you or for you? If you have comments to this, I mostly want to shout this out here as the story is fresh. And certainly cool from those people. Also certainly a big finger there of those, because Apple is, again, recurring theme here. Apple is suing them. And I think somewhere it was, I read that, not sure on which news site this was, on some news site it was that they tried to purchase them. So apparently, I'm not really sure how, which news site on some news site, allegedly Apple tried to purchase them multiple times, certainly like purchase, use human resources and shut them down, or integrate some testing service in the Xcode, whatever, test flight stuff there. But for sure, one thing is for sure, this Corellium is helping security researchers to research security issues, which certainly, actually on the other side, Apple is paying them also, right? So if you do security research, find a vulnerability of the many that have been there the last decade and all the Apple bugs and stuff, then Apple pays you if you disclose it to them in this vendor security vulnerability disclosure stuff. But if you use this service to help your security review stuff, then Apple doesn't like it. It's like, yeah, somehow, whatever. But yeah. Alex writes, got an SE on eBay for 30 and definitely cheap devices to mess with. Yeah, that's what I meant. Just get something from eBay, because certainly I'm not buying a new one for this kind of stuff. Anyway, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We have more stuff to come, which also here drop frames, 1,700, 5% drop frames. Certainly not amazing, can't recommend this garbage Vodafone cable here. But just for the sake of it, I should actually, in retrospect, should have done this. This is always this kind of stuff like, what if, maybe when this was new, because when this iPhone Linux stuff was new, I read it 7, 8, 9, whatever years ago. And what if I would have instantly got into that? But again, the problem, of course, too much open source here. the big money is in this close proprietary like virtualization stuff and keeping the secrets for you until you, just for the fun of it, after you're a millionaire probably, discloses some open source. But yeah, so the big money is in this kind of, unfortunately, but also leave me in the comments below what you think of the future of open source and the recurring theme of not making money with this. Alex writes, complete disconnect internally on Apple between people suing Korean and the bug bounty people. Yeah, also, well, certainly I don't think there is, certainly this disconnect, but I think there's certainly this connection between the management of allegedly tried, at least I read this on the German news site, it's a full disclosure here. Here they at least wrote in German that they tried to buy this. So they write here somewhere that here they write in this so apparently in this court document there is a finding that Apple apparently didn't really research this further, but they write this here allegedly. But so that's certainly the same management who wanted to buy them out to shut them down, most likely, are certainly those people like, if we can't buy you, then we sue you, apparently. Regarding the state, of course, a lot of stuff is not working if we take a look here. But we took a look on something of that sort. Anyway, where was this graph? Somewhere. So virtualization, of course, certainly the virtualization stuff with all the reverse engineering is exactly those knowledge that you need to write the Linux kernel stuff. A Linux kernel very flexible, designed to accommodate almost all quirky target whatsoever. Model there, so Korean MVA can model the AH9 SOC, and most of the early kernel port did not involve real phones. So their VM certainly some advertising there, a nice fast debugger. Patching, so certainly you and everyone, certainly I and probably many of you know that this kind of QEMU stuff is a great help for quickly accelerating development, especially early development. We've done this here with our DOS code and PC emulator, even on S3 Verge and Voodoo stuff. And certainly not a secret that nowadays with virtualization, like accelerating stuff 10 to 100 times, certainly easily 100 times faster to debug the stuff, because then you can compare in the emulation what's going on, single step there through your early boot code that was simply not possible when people started, like Linus Torvalds started Linux in 1990 or something, where you didn't have the benefit of virtualization. So of course the first thing was UART driver to get some stuff out. Yeah, Samsung S3C. I said this before, not making this up. So this is first gen iPhone wiki, and that is not a secret. That is pure Samsung CPU here of 32-bit. Where would this even be? Here, SL Apple Samsung S5L8900. Where do we get here on this originally? Something of that sort. And yeah, this inspirement here we read already. ARM something 32. Yeah, also they write here some stuff in Android was still 32-bit. They write here even maybe this, because apparently the CPU might not be even capable of running 64 anymore. Not really sure if that is true. I would be really surprised if Apple really didn't have any 32-bit support in this ARM CPU anymore. Yeah, but anyway, if they write this here, maybe so be it. But VM was constructed without access to real hardware kernel support for this phones before the Checkmate exploit was announced. It would occasionally run into surprises when checking against real devices. Hello World stuff, which also, like our Hello World on RISC-V land on the FPGA, and real device. And so certainly this Checkmate stuff helped here a lot of Checkrain running this on real hardware now. So as far as Linux concerns, NVMemu is basically another IO memu optimized for quickly creating and removing continuous blocks of memory. Android, so yeah, 4K, what was it? Android devices share one correctly 4K memory pages. In fact, 4K sizes is built in Android in so many places. It this point running 16. So so they had apparently not sure if the hardware does not support something smaller than 4K. So these are this kind of quirks that, yeah, page size, the granularity that your memory management unit operates off, memory management uniting the memory, and like pages of smallest granularity or memory management unit with memory management. And not really sure if they have here written this earlier. Not really sure if that is some property of the Apple silicon there. If you know more, leave me in the comments below. And yeah, that's what I meant here. So whatever, 4K pages, 32-bit code on the platform. So not really, again, I said this before. So they write here maybe the first truly 64-bit Android, because otherwise your vendor stuff still has a lot of vintage 32-bit code stuff lingering around there. And yeah, Wi-Fi chip. So of course right now no phone calls, but Wi-Fi. Anyway, to this very end, they customized their Android build stuff and Pleasant Launcher, Open Launcher built on Signal App, Flash image. So yeah, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. If you tested, leave in the comments below. In any case, I said it before, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to allow us to grow, to put even more time and effort on this kind of content and doing more RISC-V and low-level stuff. We have some more comments. Capture board with the FPGA. Totally. Also, just the other day arrived here a nice little, can do here some bonus for all of you who went you through the 900 drop frames. Something else arrived here. Huge shout out to Symbio. I need to so remember this name. It's probably, is it written here on? Oh, they have not sent us with a return address. That is interesting. No, it is Symbiotic EDA. Huge shout out to the amazing folks at Symbiotic EDA. They have users. So speaking about capture board, some fine little camera gadget arrived here the other day. So maybe some 5-megapixel video capture here coming soon to this FPGA goodness. But yeah, that is the amazing stuff of working together, not only on the Linux stuff, but all the hardware stuff and so on. I also spent a couple of more time on the SD stuff, so file system, partition file system, and microkernel goodness of all the RISC-V. And yeah, certainly on the RISC-V with this general purpose differential stuff, we could also make our own capture board to supersede here this bloody garbage of previous video. Epifun, not amazing stuff. Also certainly should reverse engineer this. For all this fun content here that we try to build up, again, hope to see you soon and subscribe and for all this fun stuff to come. But that's it for today. I need to rush home to my wife, that she is not missing me too much here for all this fun YouTube live stream of wasting time with Pulse Audio. I hope you have a good night, day, and to see you soon for all the next fun. So what else do we have here? Single system image OS never became a thing. What do they write here? Maybe using 2 HDMI receive signal from console other. Yeah, certainly fun stuff we can do with this stuff. Thanks for the suggestion. Exactly the stuff that we also were thinking, but certainly also RISC-V and more microkernel stuff, and certainly PS3. Joe writes, single system image network OS never became a thing. At least running VMs and containers can now be sent between servers. Now we need to be virtualized. Yeah, what I really like to see in the future, in my opinion, so the one closing word, which 2400 4.7 drop frames because garbage stuff here. Anyway, what I really like to see is more universal operating systems like general purpose. And I certainly will write my own microkernel stuff because, in my opinion, this Linux situation is also truly annoying. So not only is it annoying that you need an Android vendor kernel system image stuff for each and every bloody Android device. But also on the Linux side, you have this previously custom kernels, or they made a little bit progress on ARM. Previously, each ARM thing had one board support package and kernel stuff, because all the devices here like I2C and FrameBuff and everything was different and not as universal or compatible as x86. This is why you need one image for all of those devices, and I really would see a future where we have the situation that one image like ARM, like one kernel, comes with flexible modular drivers. I have the feeling, due to the nature of Linus Torvalds and its Linux development, we will probably not see it as much. Somehow, yeah, this is why my idea of this micro, this is also why my microkernel idea comes from, and what I want to try to enable here is more, we said this before, user space drivers. It would be so amazing if you would boot your general operating system like Windows or x86 Linux on all of those devices here, no matter what they are. It's really a shame that the IT industry has allowed this to develop this totally incompatible forest of maze of unsupported state of random stuff, because it's a support nightmare. It's no wonder that you don't get support longer than a year or two. And it's a shame, really. It shouldn't be done like this. This is when you let people do whatever they want, and all the security by obscurity and no, it's our blessed snowflake thing, nobody's allowed to support it. It's like, yeah, this is a situation that you end up in then. And yeah, I hope stuff becomes more universal compatible again. Unfortunately, on the RISC-V side, we see that vendors, now we have, first we have like ARM-like device tree stuff, and now we have even EFI, in my opinion, really, on one hand, yes, the industry wants some common compatibility layer stuff, but on the other hand, EFI is the most complex garbage that Intel invented there, so even on the RISC-V front, things, yeah. But anyway, that's it really now for today. Yes, also P3 stuff. I know. Joe writes, CPU is so running, programs can across platforms and different instruction sets like native Java CPU architecture. Yeah, so this is actually, I actually have here some ARM CPUs have a Java acceleration extension, so they could, I never looked much into this. What I looked once into is AVR32, and we have those here. This is some Atmel architecture that is also dead now, some Atmel competition to ARM from a decade ago, and those also had some optional Java extensions. So there exists a set of CPUs that can accelerate Java, and what they usually do is like some special purpose instructions of running this bytecode, and so a lot of stuff runs directly, and then if it needs some fancy stuff that isn't microcoded, it throws in Java exception so that the Java runtime can handle the more complex stuff. But yeah, this is what my ideas also with this microkernel stuff. Theoretically, that I would really be thrilled. Maybe I actually should collect some millions and do some startup. That's probably would be the wise idea. But this is also, yeah, what I said already with, you could easily do this, right? There is nothing that prevents you from user space processes so that you have some natively running microkernel system, and what I said previously, my DreamOS previous videos, just-in-time compiled stuff. Even Lua JIT has proven performance can be as good as C, sometimes for some single instruction multiple data stuff, even outperform C between trivial C code and Lua JIT, even Lua JIT of one-man project, Lua JIT frame from Mike Pell there. But yeah, anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts, highly appreciated. Also here, P3 and stuff, JavaScript, instruction architecture. You don't even need special instructions at architecture. You can certainly, as seen with Lua JIT, also can give that a shout out, although this is a little bit up and done. Not really sure why. Maybe Mike Pal was disappointed by the development of Lua, the latest since Lua 5.1, Lua 5.2, 5.3, maybe developing in ways that Mike Pal did not approve. And additionally, maybe, although he got some high profile 10, 20,000 K sponsorship projects here somewhere. He's also somewhere performance. So yeah, performance amazing. Huge shout out there. And here were some sponsors. Where was this? Somewhere it was a list of sponsored. Where would this be? Yeah, a little bit up and done for reasons not entirely clear, maybe including can't make a living and disappointed by the development of Lua. But anyway, darn when you look for something. But doesn't matter. Not only Lua JIT, but certainly JavaScript or WebASM. You don't need a special instructions architecture. You certainly often can map the stuff very good. And because the way this single instruction multiple data stuff needs to be compiled, so if you vectorize automatically to x86, for example, or any other instruction set, the code usually becomes large because you need a lot of assembly code for testing. Is it aligned? So SMD, GCC code. Do we have some nice images of course not if you look for something, because there is alignment packing, so this code becomes huge, and maybe that is not the most ideal setup of having this super huge code generation that is like 10 times increasing the size of your binary just for is it aligned, or even does the CPU even support this single instruction like AVX2, AVX512, or just SSE 2, 3, and so on. So the code becomes huge, and this is also important performance impact, right? A JIT compiler like Lua JIT or JavaScript or any other, the JIT compiler knows, does the CPU support it? Does it even make sense to generate this code, and then generate the code so that the data is, or also the runtime data always is aligned and so on. So theoretically, maybe the way that we mostly generate static code right now is not even ideal, especially for the single instruction multiple data case. But yeah, certainly fun stuff that I just create this YouTube channel for case of researching all of this stuff and innovating there. Otherwise, yeah, I could do it the Corellium way of funding some venture capital, many millions, and burn those in a couple of years like all the other people do. But yeah, I can also do it the creative way of having fun and no pressure and do your random stuff on YouTube and with you guys and so on. Joe writes FPGA stuff, but need to watch more and get caught up. And they write choosing open source over. What do you mean? Is you have chosen open source over girlfriend? Please explain. Layer of abstraction between hardware and kernel. Is Fortran Perl compilation better than Lua JIT? That is a difficult question. What Fortran code would you compile this with? But in any case, I find it pretty amazing that this Lua JIT code is as good as it is for a one-man project, and keeping it stupid simple, like not having LLVM like millions of lines of code, but a really nice proven point of keeping it stupid simple can yield in pretty high performance code. But Big Dice writes, of course we are running. So fun fact, people constantly, why would I not? Of course I use T2 daily. This is the best Linux out there. Certainly I run T2 daily, not making guess why Pulse Audio is having a hiccup every now and then. Of course I run here my own, eat my own dog food in terms of T2 Linux since 2 decades, starting with Rock Linux. Of course I run T2 daily on everything, because why would I not run the best Linux distribution, the most vanilla, most sorted, most raw like sushi. That's how we like it. Of course I run T2 on everything. I wouldn't take this time and efforts to maintain it if I wouldn't run it. But yeah, running this, recurring question, thanks for asking. T2 use source, what stuff it's using source. So either theoretically mine, but mine is just Mine is just a super simple binary package installer thing, which our tarballs, it's like basically a glorified tar front end, but otherwise built from source, rolling release, this distribution, amazing stuff. Will there ever be a T3? No, there will not. There will be T2, which, yeah, like for P3 and Octane. What there will be a microkernel, and just today I was joking with friend, I'm slightly wondering if I should register a trademark for our upcoming microkernel OS, or if I should do some voting before. The problem is, if I make some questionnaire of things, then people can steal those trademark, but probably not so many people are watching that much. So what I was thinking today, I mean, you could make many names up. So for you 20 people, amazing, that one of the most people ever watching, which is certainly cool. You digressed a little bit from Apple's Corellium virtual machine Linux stuff, and now we have the most people watching for our random microkernel stuff. So it's no surprise I want a microkernel because the future, and I was thinking something totally simple, which I was just asking best friend today, hey, what do you think about this name? Which is this like too much of bragging? Because I was thinking, hey, why don't we? Because it should be this one microkernel OS, like what I just said, right? One microkernel OS to rule them all, like embedded server and firmware stuff, what I said before, also a new collection of code stuff. And I was thinking something like one OS or OS 1, because certainly that's our first real OS from scratch, right? So a little bit. I checked the trademark, OS 2 is expired. So in Germany, the OS 2, because my friend was like, yeah, good luck getting sued by IBM. It's like, yeah, that's up and done where they will not sue us over that. And I checked, no kidding, I checked the trademark office today, online search, and the OS 2 trademark in Germany is the files destroyed, expired, destroyed. So there was a TV station of a local TV station, OS 1 in Germany. It's like, don't bloody, but they are bankrupt. Yeah, what you're thinking about this crazy little bit bragging of whatever. Otherwise, certainly there are plenty of other things of ReOS, whatever, but or just ROS, because whatever, but some ROS stuff existed. But anyway, what you're thinking about this one? Intel, fun fact, Intel has this one API stuff. We digress now really, and I should go home really seriously, because anyway, Intel has one API. Recently, just one unified stuff. So yeah, fitting, certainly that would be somewhat a cool name of one runtime, but so yeah, it's not like too unheard of, but yeah, let me know what you think about this one. That is a little bit of those fans of tuning in here for that, our microkernel project, because certainly this time we need a better name than T2, and yeah, leave in the comments below. Yeah, anyway, so that's really it for today. For those who tuned in now, which was, yeah, this, for those 24, I think we reached peak viewers here, no kidding. That is certainly amazing of this channel growing, of also Apple stuff and not FPGA stuff. But yeah, leave me in the comments below what you think. If you watched to the end, and those who tuned in now, you probably want to rewind and watch this, because now you really stop. Otherwise, the stream here, 40 minutes, certainly long enough for, yeah, theoretically, there is in Germany, actually, you write plan 9, certainly, and no, by the way, plan, I don't even, with my German heritage, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, but there is in Germany some, if like, there is a saying of plan B, of like you, usually like you try something and you don't achieve it, and then there's some plan B. For example, study something like whatever, fancy history or something, you don't get a job, and then you end up as taxi driver, cab driver, something. So this plan B of whatever. And so yeah, theoretically plan BOS, if just German saying of whatever. But plan whatever. No, I'm confused myself with Plan 9 stuff. Anyway, this kind of naming. Anyway, certainly cool that so many people Linux here. Actually, I think what attracts most people is an Apple live stream, which probably I also have some Apple and Amazon running to do, which I'm already. One is less than 2. One OS is cool. That is also cool. That is new in the middle. Yeah. Anyway, probably I should go register One OS and try to buy the domain. I think it was like minimum bid $270. Certainly should. Yeah. Also, 2020. Certainly, you don't start your microkernels before you have registered the domain name. Anyway, welcome everyone here who tuned in now. What happened with Google Zirconia? So it's of course funny how a Apple, Android, iPhone stream turned into a microkernel naming discussion. I have another thing. So yeah, Android Fuchsia stuff, not much to see, whatever. Maybe eventually, certainly their plan B of whatever with the Linux kernel. Another thing is, what I wonder is what happened actually with Huawei's Harmony OS, right? We had this even live stream of, hey, they do a microkernel, maybe it's amazing. So Huawei Harmony. So much to, some people quickly called it vaporware, and it turned out like there's not yet much to see. So much to, hey, we are not allowed to use Android that much anymore. We do our Harmony OS, like, hey, we have an amazing microkernel. It's like, yeah, maybe it's certainly registers for the vaporware award already, because yeah, not much to see yet, but certainly this is only why we should get going. Certainly our One OS microkernel stuff for soon to be drafting here in firmware stuff on reading partition and file system soon, and yeah, certainly in really nice stuff. If you want to get into something, can't shout this out often enough, of really amazing microkernels of FPGA stuff. You can do your own hardware and very, very close kernel development and getting into all this kind of, even doing your own audio video stuff, certainly. Oh really, Plan B is an abortion pill, so USA didn't hear that, so that sounds somewhat questionable. Anyway, yeah, P3 Linux, I have it in each questionnaire. I'm sure enough aware that we should do that. Actually, what about our own microkernel like One OS on the P3, right? But certainly it's not forgotten. The 2 P3s are here. I promise we soon do some P3 stuff. But the thing is, of course, I don't need it daily. So yeah, but certainly P3 is not forgotten. And as soon as we mentioned, we have a new record and live viewers, which is amazing. P3 is not forgotten. The reason I did so much work on T2 Linux actually the last month is also to get more stuff in a more stable and just reliably working state, including updates like KDE GNOME. Certainly not everything is amazingly updated in terms of all the many KDE and GNOME packages, but we updated, which also we can, this was also the wrong focus on the our own SVN stuff. So huge commit spikes here in this update, which is also in part of P3 Octane stuff, because stuff needs to work as perfect as possible, because I know with just the P3 I get so many, with all these YouTube streams I get as many support requests like never before. Certainly so much to your own video advertising series here. But certainly I earn nothing, so the more support requests I get, just the more work it is answering emails for free. This is also the next, I already told other people on YouTube comments the other day, there will be a new P3 ISO image very soon, which also we probably should build now. This also stuff more tested, the last image, just proof of concept, and I realized most people want more than proof of concept. You certainly the most ISO, the last ISO image you could install and stuff, but the next ISO image needs to be all the user friendliness that we even installing improved in T2. And I did not do this only for one system, but all the improvements, like even the video usability of text installer, like having the installer, the install command, those super trivial things that we should have thought through a decade ago. But yeah, new P3 ISO coming. The problem is with all the updates, we need to do more testing and this takes enormous time, right? So the next ISO we spin, we need to test UDEV. I updated UDEV and also other stuff. So UDEV will for sure fail some things. But then also installer stuff, we changed ISO generation in terms of shared libraries for support for the Musel, also previous videos, like the GNU-less T2 Linux system without GNU, GCC and binutils. The system we built entirely out of Musel, libc and LLVM Clang. And yeah, all this stuff, always some code changes like the dynamic library passes were different from Musel, so I had to tweak some stuff, found some bugs. Later I found regressions, so yeah. But P3, the next ISO, will come with minimal Xorg because I figured that most normal people don't want to bother with something else. And as much as vanilla and raw T2 is already, so yeah, that's but the last week you probably have seen in the videos, I was not in the office the last week and didn't travel with the P3, so some weeks some FPGA and other goodness stuff, and when I'm back in the office then P3 stuff now, which yeah, just a new record. But everything takes a lot of time, so even just what people don't realize, just rebuilding, cross-compiling, there will be errors. In previous videos there's always some regression, and the AMD 3950X build of course enables us to reach build errors even faster certainly than ever before. So yeah, next build soon. Welcome everyone, welcome Glockus, which is welcome everyone, and it is amazing. Not only all the subscribers, but a new record high of concurrent live viewers. Can't even, as usual, we are through already 20 minutes through and digressed in kernel naming, which Glaucus can also vote for. Not this, but what do you think about this microkernel names? Thanks for asking how we're doing. We're doing relatively fine. Wait a second, it just showed 20. Are you freaking kidding me? 29, not making this up. We just had a all time. Does it even say here the somewhere it should show the most. Wait, we just had 29 live viewers. Amazing stuff. Soon we become the Louis Rossmann of software stuff. Not that voting, I meant the name voting here. What you're thinking about One OS or OS 1 because reasons. Yeah, I figured the most views Apple and P3, and yeah, as I outlined, just building the next ISO image and certainly testing it easily a whole weekend day of maybe the Saturday. Yeah. That's it for today. It's amazing that you all tuned in. You probably, those who tuned in late, you probably want to rewind and watch this. And totally amazing that so many people tuned in today. Yeah, certainly with our One OS, then we need to support PowerPC. It would be, so as a last word, I said this before, my current plan for this microkernel, which, what you're thinking about those names for those who tuned in late, certainly we should then have it running on the P3 also, certainly PowerPC. So what I'm really curious, my current setup, which probably I should make a dedicated video, my current idea is what I would find personally ideal, a little bit like Windows NT, if you would want to say, because Windows NT had an HAL and hardware abstraction layer. So what I'm thinking is one repository of all these readable definitions for the hardware, like VGA, like IDE, certainly more modern stuff like NVMe, SPI, and so on, and having those, what I always said, having those headers work on vintage compilation of DOS demos, firmware stuff here, and then a more sophisticated OS, and then having it compile for all those architectures, certainly not magic, but what the magic would be is having some hardware abstraction layer so that you have one set of user space drivers and one kernel and a very minimal hardware abstraction layer shim, so that if you have different different platforms like PS3 and Apple Mac, Power Mac, that you would not have to recompile everything in one. Not only the application like it is in Lua, but even the driver, not Lua, Linux. Certainly the applications for PowerPC and stuff, maybe even just in time compiled from some other higher level language, but even all the drivers, so that you do not always need to recompile all the bloody SPI and video drivers and stuff. But yeah, that's it for this live stream. Amazing that so many people tuned in. Certainly, I certainly figured that all the, like, even certainly doesn't take a genius to realize that even Noctua fan videos get more views and more constant views than FPGA stuff, which is, yeah, there you see, not here for the money, because learning experience and making fun stuff and DIY stuff, what I like and stuff, but that certainly, someone came from Reddit. What does it mean? This is posted on Reddit? I don't, what? But yeah, welcome, cool stuff. Certainly it doesn't take a genius to figure that all the low-level stuff, FPGA, Verilog, and so on. Noctua fans are cool. So yeah, I actually have a long list of mainstream videos I want to produce and edit of totally trivial things that certainly will get more views and subscribers than FPGA stuff. But it's just like, yeah, if I run this channel for creating viable means of doing all this development and research of cool things that I think should be done, and yeah, then it also means between the cooler level stuff some more popular content in between. Anyway, that's really it for today. I just continue because it was amazing that we have so many new record of people. Welcome there, new from Reddit, highly appreciated, and I hope to see you soon for all the next fun low-level stuff, file systems, and running iPhone Linux on this stuff. So we have gone viral. Don't forget your original disciplines. Disciples. What? Anyway. Yeah, anyway, we will continue with all the low-level code, Verilog, U, FPGA, you name it, RISC-V and all the fun stuff, Linux and our upcoming microkernel, fun because why not. That's it really for today. I really need to go, and totally amazing, and happy to see you soon for next videos and live streams to come. And again, you want to rewind this to watch the Apple iPhone stuff in the beginning.